right, so Jason now is ready to show me the business development process in which he'll walk me through some of the steps it takes to really get, let's say, the business development pipeline working well. All right, Jason, take it away. Show me what I need to understand, yeah?
Okay, sir. So today we are going to be talking about how to convert gatekeepers,
Okay.
and I will share.
Okay, so let's go into some terminology, Jason, because maybe a lot of people watching this won't know what we mean by a gatekeeper. Jason, what is a gatekeeper?
Okay, so basically, gatekeeper is a person who is not the decision maker for converting leads to partner, but may still influence the process. The gatekeeper, well, basically the definition is someone gatekeeps, and in our perspective, in our terminology, in Bukit Vista, a gatekeeper is for someone who's gatekeeping the owner's contact. It could be like, for example, a contractor, anyone like a representative, personalized.
Yeah, sorry about that. So what I did was I was trying to get the lag on my computer to reduce because I had so many other programs open. I accidentally closed Discord, so sorry about that. Let's have you continue. Please tell us more about a few examples of gatekeepers and what they do. And if possible, if you could share the full screen, that'll be fine. I'm right here with you. Yeah, so we just need to have the document at full size so that we can see it. And if you could zoom in, that would also be helpful because later on in the recording, it'll be harder to see the screen. Okay, perfect. All right, there we go. So we have different categories of gatekeepers. Tell us about the different categories there.
Yes, okay, so the first one is common. It is the representative, a gatekeeper who can be still be related with blood, like for example, son, wife, cousin, nephew, or even the owner themselves.
Okay.
But they are not the decision maker.
Okay.
And the next one is developer. Developer is quite a lot here in Bali. It is the entity that plans, finance, and oversees property project. But developers usually they build and then the aiming for the property is for sale, or they are already have like property management. Or contractor, this is one of the most common we found in the site. Contractor is the person who hired to execute the actual construction work of the project.
Yeah.
So basically, the contractor is the one who is responsible for the project, and they usually, like for the part of the contractor, like the boss contractor, they know who are the owners, and they have known or a lot of owners before because in Bali they have lots of contractor. And the next one is worker. Worker is it's a worker who work in the site. And the next one is community expert, and this could be the architect, this interior, investor manager, or any type of expertise can have access to the project or the owner's contact.
Okay.
And the last one is the seller, and seller also can be a gatekeeper who intends to sell the whole part of or a unit of the project, but they keeps the owner's number. Like for example, a realtor, they will never send you the owner's number because if they do that, they doesn't get commission for the units that they sold.
Okay,
and
great.
Here are some type of gatekeeper contacts.
Okay, great. So we are taking a moment to think about how to approach, let's say, a gatekeeper in this case who has access but not decision. They have access to a decision maker, but they generally cannot make a decision whether or not to contract with Bukit Vista to become a, let's say, an asset management partner because they're ultimately not the decision maker. Okay, great. So we need to approach this now from the sales framework mindset, which we covered in the previous video. And if you haven't watched that, be sure to watch the previous video. There's a link down in the description because that's foundational for this part. So let's ask this question. Can we take the same approach to understanding a gatekeeper as we do to approaching the actual principal?
Yes.
Great. So we can still use the 5-step process, right? And so we can still use the 5-step process, but we need to modify one objective, and we need to understand what that is. What objective do we need to modify when we are taking the 5-step sales process in the approach towards a gatekeeper?
Yeah, we need to modify the objective because the objective here is to extract the owner's number.
Okay.
And it may be differ from one another type, especially in the discovery section.
Okay, let me correct you a little bit. So it's not simply to extract the owner's number. That I think is maybe not the best goal. That's one goal, but it might not be the best goal. Okay. Can you imagine maybe perhaps a better goal, a more refined goal?
I see. For certain type, like for example, contractor, developer, or a CE, community expert, I think we can establish like a connection between
Correct.
them and
Correct.
perhaps any business relation.
There you go. So, a better goal than extracting the owner's contact could be how can we develop a relationship that is mutually beneficial to the, let's say, gatekeeper. Okay? So, a gatekeeper can also be seen as a potential source of leads. We should try to think about them as that. So, if they know one owner, do they know other owners? Do they have other owners that have the same, let's say, potential needs for management as we do? Okay, so the key thing to think about for gatekeepers is not how to go around them, or let's say, it's really how to ally with them for a benefit that works for them, us, and the owners. Okay, so we need to know each gatekeeper's primary desire. What do they see as a benefit? Okay, let's go down on the first one. So the easiest one is probably the developer. Let's start with that one first, okay? What could be the approach to build a relationship with the developer?
The easiest way to establish a connection with the developer or relationship is to offer them a buyer. This is one of the most easiest way to
Correct.
to establish a relationship.
Correct. So, look, you are in a position as a journalist to reach an audience of people that you have been writing to for a number of years now, Jason, right? You have people that read your blogs, you have people that read, let's say, your transcripts of BBR videos. You have an audience of people who are consuming and proven to consume your content. Okay, would the developer like to be interviewed? Would the developer like to showcase their project? Would they like to have a evaluation done for free of their project in terms of its buyability to a audience through the Bali Business Review?
Well, yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Absolutely, because that way they can like market themselves for free.
correct. That way they can market themselves through our content, and we get to actually cover their content too as well. Okay, so there's a mutually beneficial direction there. Now, of course, we can't help them with any sales. They have to do it themselves, but we can certainly review the property. We can ask our, let's say, data scientist to take a look at it and do that. Okay, so you have some benefit that you can offer, okay? You can approach offering that benefit. You can say, hey, would it be of benefit to you to get, let's say, a investor for your project? And they are going to say, yeah. How can you help me? Well, I want to actually look for, let's say, a interview subject, and you could be that. Would you like to schedule a podcast interview so that you can talk about your project with our CEO and then be on the next episode of the Bali Business Review? Or would you like your project to be evaluated by one of our reviewers and be given a truthful, let's say, assessment of the investment value of your property? Okay, and we'll do it for free because we need the content, okay, and you need the story, right? And now you've built a relationship with the developer, and now you can say, now how about giving me some freaking like leads, right, after I did all this stuff for you? That's closing the deal as well. All right, so that's with developer. Contractor, what can we do for a contractor that could exchange some value, Jason?
Okay, for is to well, the nature of contractor is they need to find someone who use their service, right? So I think the correct way to give the benefit for them is to showcase their work,
Yep.
or even invite them to our city,
Yeah.
and connect them with the property owners, and perhaps in the future, or if we happens to know someone who wants to build, and we can like connect them with the
Of course.
right contractor.
Of course. Look, we have partners that need renovations, correct?
Yes.
We have partners that they need to start building because they've come to us to ask for investment strategy advice, right? So we can introduce a contractor to our network if they can introduce and willing to present some examples of their work. Not Kambang Kurtas for sure, but let's say a contractor that is interested in finding a long-term string of clients through our property management network can receive some benefits. Okay. All right. Good. You're on a roll now. So now we figured out how to approach a contractor. We can invite them for a roundtable discussion. We can connect them with their next job through a potential owner that is looking for renovation. You can just simply go to Kyla, and she's our VP of Ops, and ask, hey, is there any owner who is currently looking to fix a waterproofing issue or a construction defect, and they need a good contractor. And we can simply do an exchange there, okay? You as a contractor give us a lead that might be interested in property management, and we can give you a lead interested in doing the X. And the smart way to do it is you could exchange even a social media link, right? We did this with Construct Bali a few years back, where they put a link on our site and we put a link on their site. It's been feeding us pretty good backlinks for almost 5-6 years now. So that's another way to exchange long-term value, okay? Good, all right. So I think we get the idea, and this goes into, I guess, the end of this episode where we're talking about how to use these principles of the 5-step sales process to apply it to a different set of benefits and a different objective than our direct partnerships, and thinking about how to create some benefit. Now, this is, if you didn't know, one of the primary reasons why we started the Bali Business Review. We wanted to have this network where we could keep all these professionals that we had met along the way organized, and we've done so because a lot of the Bali Business Review interview subjects are all now curated, and they are collected on our YouTube channel. So we can keep on exchanging value. You can go to perhaps some of the people, Jason, that have given interviews before our Bali Business Review, and update them on, let's say, the statistics that are happening on their videos, and ask them, do you know anybody who needs property management services, right? We'd be interested in talking. We already have interviewed architects. We've already interviewed people who are doing 3D software. So there's a lot of people that you can just tap into who are past gatekeepers, who might be of some benefit to you today, okay? So don't think of gatekeepers as gatekeepers. Try to start thinking of them as potential leads for long-term partnerships that reduce the need for you to keep on looking for ad hoc relationships one at a time. You can lean into your gatekeepers that we've, let's say, already have relationships with, to just simply share with them some business news and ask them for the business, right? You can say, hey, look, I just wrote a recent article about such and such. I think it applies to you because you're in this business. And by the way, do you have anything for me? Okay? All right. Hopefully that's a practical example of how using the power of the 5-step process, being really thoughtful about the business journalism goal and the direction of how you don't need to think of a gatekeeper as a obstacle, but actually as an ally to get together with, and think about how you can create a solution that's beneficial to their client and our potential future client. Okay, great.